It's summertime in Texas, and still, even with the heat, we welcome you to the Out Loud and On Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hargrove, and I'm just so glad you're here. In every podcast, we talk very extensively about living with intention, but today we're going to talk about the people standing right beside you. You know, life is a series of seasons, and not everybody is meant to stay for the entire journey. Some people are there to sharpen you, some to support you, and some are just passing through to teach you a lesson that you needed to learn. That's what I've been told. But here's the question. Are you letting ghosts of the past occupy space currently that is meant for your future? Are you spending your precious, God-given energy trying to maintain or revive relationships that only exist because of the life support that only you are providing? Well, it's time to take inventory. Time to distinguish between loving your neighbor, which is non-negotiable, and trusting them with the keys to your life, which is a privilege they need to earn. So let's get clear, get boundaries, and get back to what real life looks like, out loud and on purpose. Let's step in it, even though it's hot. Hey, thanks everybody for stepping in with us today on the Out Loud and On Purpose podcast. Again, I'm your host, Kyle Hargrove, and I have sitting across the table from me the lovely and talented Miss Amy, who makes everything better.
Hello, Kyle.
I'm
How
Miss
are
Amy.
you?
I can't complain except for the heat.
Is it hot enough for you?
No. It's not hot enough for me. It passed hot enough for me when it got about 85 degrees.
Agreed.
And now that we're 10 to 15 degrees above that every single day, my tolerance for it is waning, and we only just got started.
Absolutely. It is so hot. It might as well be 1,003.
Yeah.
Instead of 93.
It may as well, except for the things that would be melting by now. And
this is true. You can bake cookies in your car, or
you could bake cookies in the air if it was that hot. I mean, you wouldn't have to put them on anything. They might not be crispy.
Ew.
But they'd be cooked.
They would be cooked.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Bringing the topic of our podcast around today, I want to call it an energy audit. You know, it's like people will come to your house and they'll do an energy audit on your house. They'll check the seams. They'll check how well the doors and the windows are installed and if they're still efficient. And they'll check things up in your attic. And then they'll say, okay, this is how efficient your house is and you're good. Or they'll say, here are the things that we found where you got energy escaping. And that it's expensive. And it keeps it from being cool in the summer and being warm enough in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is that you keep what's inside, and you don't let what's outside come inside.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's that 2 days in the spring or 3 days in the fall that we get where you can just leave everything open and it just feels wonderful.
Right.
So having that picture in your mind put in place, I won't even go into what they do after that because it's robbery. But having that picture of the audit in mind, I'd like for us to kind of talk about that today when it comes to relationships that we've had or relationships that we still have, but they're not at the same level of intensity and vulnerability and trustworthiness and so forth as they might have been one day long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a question to ask you as we start out today.
Okay.
Have you ever, or have you had much experience with people you know, or I don't know, maybe even yourself? I'm not going to ask you to divulge anything that would give you pain.
Mm-hmm.
But have you observed this with people before? People that are wasting untold amounts of human, spiritual, emotional energy on unalive relationships that have either been dead and gone for a long time or they're not what they once were. How much experience have you had observing that, if any?
Some. I think So, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation on the phone with a friend this morning, and they are going through, been married 30 years, and it's a dead relationship.
Mm.
And it's hard to listen to, because it's a difficult topic.
Do they think it's alive?
No.
Okay.
The reasons for staying don't even make sense, but to them, they make all the sense. And it is spending their energy in a situation where neither one feels love.
That's brutal.
It's yes.
So they have energy, maybe not as much as they once did, but where they're spending it is not producing anything positive.
That's correct.
Okay. Wow. That's hard. That's really hard. I started thinking about this a while back when I was working with a client who's divorced. Mm-hmm. And he's moved on with his life, and she's moved on with hers. They're both in the dating phase of rebuilding their relational lives. But it dawned on me one day as he was talking about things that he does where his ex-wife is concerned. No kids involved, no house. They don't share anything anymore except experiences and memories. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, does it strike you as odd that you still are so concerned about her being happy with you or okay with you when really, the amount of time that you guys are even talking to one another, much less that you don't ever see each other, is so limited? Does it strike you as odd that you put so much energy into that? Mm-hmm. And he didn't really know what to say because, I kind of called him out. I mean, I wasn't ugly about it.
Sure.
But once he sat in it for a minute and thought about it, he said, I guess that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? And once he and I had that conversation that day, and by the way, since then, man, he's flying. He's doing a great job. And, he's realized that he was not calling his own shots. Now, he wasn't doing it in the marriage, but even when the marriage was over, done with, ended, everybody had gone their own ways. He hadn't changed the way he was behaving and thinking about it.
Like habitual?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he still felt like it was important for him to make sure that she was not upset with him or that she approved of something he might do or, whatever. And, I can promise you by the reactions and responses that she gave him and the things she expected of him, she didn't care about him that way because she was making some pretty harsh demands that he was just continuing to, along the line of acquiescing.
And it carried over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. And he didn't know why he was still so miserable.
How long had they been were they divorced?
I think a couple of years.
Oh my, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, still pretty young people. But I'd like for us to look into this, moving from living in fear and performance. I'm afraid that if I don't do something or maintain a certain level of intentionality or engagement or intensity with somebody, that I'm going to pay some horrible consequence for it, some horrible price. What that does is it keeps us from having purpose and freedom in the right now and in the future, because we've been doing it probably for so long that it just becomes a part of who we are, and we drag it with us wherever we go. So I think this audit is necessary for any of us and for all of us to determine, how efficiently are we using our energy? We only have so much to give. And there's no way to measure that, I suppose. Well, not many, but I'm working on that.
It kind of reminds me when I was in a job that I did not like, to be quite honest. And I stayed in that job because of all the reasons, bills, And I think back of all the years that I stayed in that when I was unbelievably unhappy. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. It's not just, I mean, yes, it's relationships, but there's all kinds of situations where you can apply this.
Right. And I think that's why the audit is a good thing. You know, I like to use the term check up from the neck up for a lot of different things. And this would be, you know, I mean, the epitome of one of those. Let's do it. Just find out what's there. Because a lot of times we have expectations in life and in relationships and with jobs and with people and with our pets and with all kinds of things.
We could do a whole show on expectations.
We could, probably we should. But they're unrealistic.
Absolutely.
As often as not, probably more often than not. So I guess that's the first question out of the box is, you know, there's a difference between who you want people to be and who they actually are. Think about that one for a minute. Think about that one for a minute. You know, this is who I want somebody to be in this relationship in my life. And I treat that relationship as if they are that person, and they're really not. And nor do they want to be, nor have they ever intended to be.
And before you know it, you've been married 10 years.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
So that's the observation. The question is, are you willing to see that difference? Well,
I think that for me personally, you have to stop expecting yourself out of other people. That was a big one for me.
That's huge. That is huge.
Absolutely huge.
Because you may have much higher expectations of yourself than others have of themselves. Therefore, if you expect you out of them, you are going to be perpetually disappointed.
It's huge.
Yeah. And who's the intentional one?
Right.
Let's just say not them.
Right.
Not in that situation.
No, not in that situation. Well, I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah. Well, see, the lack of intentionality here is not the problem, but it's a part of the problem. And I think the reason it is such an issue here is because of fear. Many of us are mortified, terrified to take this inventory. Because
absolutely.
of the fear of what we're going to find out. It's almost like I feel a lump somewhere on my body. And the fear of what it might be is running, and it's an app running in the back of my head 24/7. And I'm terrified to even go to the doctor to find out what it is.
Fear is a stronghold.
The strongest.
Absolutely.
And if we admit that a relationship is broken or that unwarranted energy is being poured into it with no value and no positive result, we're going to feel like a failure. And you said fear is powerful. Fear is huge. Fear is a big deal, the biggest. The fear of failing is attached firmly to it, almost like that little magnetic battery pack that's on the back of your phone right now. You don't see one without the other. They can't separate themselves. Inextricably intertwined, I call it. Is the fear of failing and the basic overall fear of admitting what something really is.
Well, it's comfortable staying in a situation that you're used to.
Indeed. I mean, we spend a lot of time getting used to something. And for anybody listening in the North, that means accustomed to. I remember I was speaking at an engagement in Maryland, and I said, what I'm fixing to do is...
Yes.
And somebody stopped a little while longer and said, I have a question, something I didn't understand. And I said, yeah, what's that? What does it mean you're fixing to do? What are you fixing? And what does it have to do with to do? And I didn't know what to say because
it's a verb.
I couldn't understand the possibility that anybody didn't understand what I was saying. I mean, I thought fixing to was a universal thing in the English language, but it's not.
It's not.
So here's the question for you, everybody, listeners, participators. What's the specific fear that keeps you from evaluating the relationships in your life? Is it of being alone? Is it catching a label? Is it being misunderstood? I mean, there are, I guess, a dozen or more things that it could be, maybe a dozen or more, maybe even 100.
That's a pretty raw question.
It is.
And the answer is, I'm sure.
But here we go. We're raw and we're real.
Absolutely.
That's what we are here on, what's this thing called?
The Out Loud and On Purpose podcast. Out Loud and On Purpose.
I was on it. So, but if you stripped away the performance that you put on for others, would you still be friends with the people you currently spend the most time with?
Well, you're asking the questions today, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Came loaded for bear. But I mean, this is something I think about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have so many questions.
Yeah.
I need to get one of those Plod things that are pocket.
What?
There's these things called Plod or Pocket. It's a little thing. It's not much bigger than a credit card.
Uh-huh.
And you carry it around with you. And one of them, I think, will even stick to the back of your phone, kind of like that battery pack.
Uh-huh.
And you talk to it all day. And it transcribes the conversations that you have with yourself. Or it's like a Chat GPT friend.
I do not need that.
Yeah, you don't know anything about that, do you? It's about your Chat GPT friend, or your Claude friend, or your Perplexity friend, or whatever the thing is that you might. Have I told you about Jim?
No.
My buddy Jim?
No, I have not heard about Jim.
Somebody asked me the other. I said something,
Jim.
and they said, no, it's Jim. Okay, and they said, where did you find that out? I said, oh, my friend Jim and I came up with it.
Yeah.
And I get half the credit right there.
Sure.
Jim and I,
Jim and I.
You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do.
I'm a wizard with the words.
But is it Jim and me? No, it's Jim and I.
That would not play well, Jim and me. Yeah.
No.
So I want you to think about something.
Okay.
I wasn't talking specifically to you.
Oh, well.
But that's okay. You're a part of the audience.
Here,
yeah. So I want y'all to think about something. What price are you paying? Mentally, spiritually, or physically to keep a dying relationship on life support? Let me make a disclaimer. I am a therapist who facilitates therapy with people who are in struggling, challenging, and sometimes dying relationships. I am not talking about a marriage necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
My first move is never separation or divorce unless there is violence or danger involved. So please understand when I ask the question, what price are you paying to keep a dying relationship on life support? I'm talking about any relationship or relationships that actually no longer exist.
Mm-hmm.
So that first little segment there is about taking inventory. It's kind of the foundation of this energy audit.
Mm-hmm.
A second thing I'd like to bring up, and this is going to sting, I think, for a lot of people. So giving you a trigger warning. Nobody likes to sting, but man, is it necessary. It's kind of like getting a shot at the doctor. I remember I used to get penicillin shots when I was a little kid. Oh my God, those things hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The best day of my life was when I got pneumonia and they gave me a penicillin shot and I had an allergic reaction to it. And I've never had one since.
Can't have those anymore.
Can you imagine the best day of your life being that you were being put in the hospital in the 3rd grade with pneumonia?
You must have really hated shots.
I did. I've had so many. I give them myself now. It's crazy. But anyway, it's like getting a shot. It hurts. It stings, especially if it's a big one or a strong one or a thick one.
Mm-hmm.
But what we get from it may save our life.
Mm-hmm.
So the second step here in the audit is about boundaries, love, and trust. And I lead with this so frequently when we talk about boundaries in marriages or boundaries in relationships. I have had so many people say to me, Kyle, a good marriage, a good relationship doesn't need boundaries. Boundaries are when people are out of line.
Mm.
And it takes me a minute to recover from that every time I hear it. Because the best relationships are the best relationships because
they have boundaries.
Thank you. See? If you and I were married or something, and by the way, we're not. I know there have been people who have thought that we are, or not a couple. We're a couple of people.
Couple of people.
Yeah. But I stunned myself so much by saying that I can't remember what I was saying.
About boundaries.
Yeah. If we were a couple, then I'd be saying, Mama's coming around to Daddy's way of thinking.
That's a great song.
Yeah. I think it's the opposite of that, though, isn't it? Daddy's coming around to Mama's way of thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
that is, yes.
Anyway, boundaries, love, and trust. And the big question here is, and I know not everybody is plugged in spiritually the way I am. You have yours, I have mine, we have ours. How do you honor the commandment? Because I think every religion or every spiritual orientation has something similar to or the same as love your neighbor. In the 10 Commandments in the Bible, there are 10. And it's my stance, and I think a lot of other people too, that if you'll follow 2 of them, the rest of them aren't real hard to do. Love God, love people. Those are 2 of the commandments. So,
well, I feel like the answer to world peace is the golden rule.
Yeah. Is that he who has the gold makes the rules?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
That's the one I know, yeah.
And to me, everything else just falls in place with that.
Yeah. So how do you honor that commandment? Love thy neighbor without compromising your own integrity or safety. I don't even know how to answer that question because there are so many components to it. There are so many pieces and parts. There are so many, every relationship on the planet has something in common and then nothing at all in common. I mean, it's like a fingerprint or a snowflake. Everyone is unique.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my stance on it, though. I think distinguishing between love and trust is the place that we have to start in order to know what the boundaries even need to be. Because love is a commandment. I mean, it's a stance of the heart, and trust is a privilege in a relationship that has been earned through consistent and consistently safe behaviors on both parts. So if you got to distinguish between love and trust, the early part of love is, love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, well, that means love people. It's not just talking about the people that live on either side of you. And trust is something that you have to decide it's the right time to do based on the behavior of another person.
Do you think you have to have one to have the other?
No, I do not. And let me give you an example of that. I happen to have one. Not written down, but that's always near the front of my mind. I'm going to give you the antithesis of that. I think this is the antithesis of what you're asking because it comes in the form of forgiveness. Okay? Now, I am commanded by God to love my neighbor, to love people. And I think that has to be exhibited in how I would treat them if I were in the same place with them at the same time. Well, it really wouldn't matter where we are because you can be really ugly to somebody and not be in the same place. But I can forgive somebody that I once loved and trusted, but I do not have to trust them any longer, especially if it's not safe. Now, safety, that's a term that is defined in lots of different ways,
Sure.
Is it safe for me to drive my vehicle because it needs new brakes? Or is it safe for me to go home because there's an angry, violent person waiting there? Those are completely different things, and I do not want anybody to feel like we're combining them all into the same pot. But that's what makes it so difficult, I think, is there's so many variations and so many levels of intensity when it comes to trust and safety and love and things like that. the kind of love that we're commanded to have is not necessarily the kind of love needed for a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That the commandment is about respecting others as human beings. And if there is something that we can do for them that they cannot do for themselves, that we do what we can to make it happen. It doesn't mean I have to trust them. And because I trust somebody doesn't mean I have to love them. They are independent and interdependent constructs.
Okay.
So here's the questions. Where in your life are you currently equating access with love? And what I mean by that is, do you think that to be a loving person, you've got to allow toxic or uninvolved individuals unlimited access to your time and your emotional energy?
Whoa.
Or do you need to be setting some boundaries?
Right.
You said, whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. Sound like the fawns over there.
Did I?
A little bit.
Hey. No.
You
Kidding.
just can't not, can you? That's what I love about you.
See, I make everything better, right? Boundaries are a hard one for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
because I say this very thing. I'm a loving person. I respect people being individuals. And that's what I love the most about people. But I think now that I'm hearing this, it's at the expense of my time and emotional energy.
Yeah, that's true. And when you get tired enough of it, you come to the place where you got to do something. Okay. I feel, and I'm using the word feel on purpose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel abused. I feel used. I feel drained. I feel empty. I feel all these things. If you spend any time around me in a professional environment, you know that what I'm going to ask you after you tell me what you feel and what you felt and how tired you are of it, what I'm going to ask you in one form or another is, okay, what are you doing about it? Or
Right.
what are you going to do about it? Because that's the only way to not feel those things.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing most people don't do that they need to do first is set boundaries. And there's a big difference between boundaries that are set to punish someone and a boundary that is set to protect your own brightness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you see that your brightness has been snuffed out, you had it, you loved it, you experienced it, people loved it about you, and now it's gone. That's not usually something you did to yourself, but it is something you allowed to be done to you. And those are big things. So I have a parting question on this part of it for you. Do you think you can love someone from a distance while refusing to trust them with your heart or your resources?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Because not trusting them creates that distance.
Correct. But I still love them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the thing I think of immediately when that question comes into my mind is parents and adult children.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And those adult children have misused and abused and taken advantage of their parents so many times, or enough times, or a lot of times, or one time, depending on what it might be,
Right.
that the parent still loves them and would still do a lot of things for them, but what they can't do or they can't allow themselves to do is to trust them in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
or to continue pouring resources into them in some ways.
Mm-hmm. It's a big one.
It's a tough one. So this one's going to be interesting too. The third part in our audit, our energy audit, and that is this concept of seasons. And I am one that thinks, not just because it's my opinion, but because I've watched it and observed it so many times in my own life, not to mention the lives of my clients. And relationships have seasons. Every relationship that has any length to it, any depth to it, is going to go through seasons. Some good, some bad. Some rainy, some stormy, some beautiful. Some you want to do again, some you don't ever want to experience again.
Mm-hmm.
But not only do they have, do we have the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows, but I have a feeling that not everybody has an understanding that relationships often have a purpose, sometimes to maybe sharpen us, maybe to test us. And I think that a lot of times certain relationships are there to prepare us for the next season.
Isn't that what a relationship is about, though? Not maybe about as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
You bring out good qualities in me. I bring out good qualities in you. We're partners. We help, not we specifically.
Right.
I thought that's what a relationship was.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And not every relationship. Here we go. Trigger warning. Not every relationship was meant to be permanent.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Let's start very adolescently.
Mm-hmm.
You remember being 18?
Oh, I do.
Me too. I figured if I do, you certainly do. How did you feel about your classmates when you graduated? What was your expectation when it came to the relationships that you had spent 18 years building, being in school with these crazy people?
Oh, we were going to be friends.
Your peeps, your folks, your family.
Yeah.
How many of them have you ever even seen again?
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's low, but it's exponentially less than we expect because we have rose-colored glasses and we're pie in the sky and everybody loves each other and we're going to sacrifice for each other just like we always have and we think we have, but we really don't even know what sacrifice is at that point in our lives. So anything that we think and that we say about what the future is going to look like when we're 18 is highly unlikely to come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Those relationships are there for a season. There are other types of relationships and friendships that we have. And look at neighbors. If you live in a master planned neighborhood and you pay the HOA fees, bane of my existence. If you live there a while, people are going to come and go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not personal, not usually. Maybe it is sometimes, but most of the time they come and go because of jobs and because of family issues and needing to be somewhere and so on and so forth. Tell me that you living next door to me and your husband gets transferred to Georgia with his job and our families have been BFFs forever because that's what the last F stands for. Mm-hmm. And we vacation together and we've done holidays together and our families our extended families know each other and love each other and consider us all one big family. Are you going to tell me that after that period of time when one of us moves halfway across the country that it's not going to change that relationship is not going to enter a new season? Even still, our emotions will allow us to believe that relationship will never change.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, simply because of geography, somebody's going to say, I think they're being distant. Mm-hmm. It's because they're distant, like 1,200 miles distant. It changes things. And we're so emotionally involved that our logic can't even perceive that. When they moved, it's going to change things. Yeah.
Can that make us hard, though?
Can that make us hard?
In the sense that we protect ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't become close to the new neighbors.
Yeah. Sure. It can make us shrink away to not be as willing to be vulnerable and to put ourselves out there. And that can with any kind of relationship.
Sure.
When you said that, can it make us hard? I immediately thought of marriages and broken marriages and people that were once excited about being married and being in a relationship that they anticipated that would last the rest of their lives. And when it didn't, that hurt in ways we never imagined it could or would. And when it does, well, how about I step right back into that again? That's what our logic tells us at that point. When we say these emotions, they hurt so badly right now. What's my logic saying? Don't do it again. Hey, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Doc says, don't do that. Yeah, there's this dialogue that goes on between our logic, the logical part of us and the emotional part of us. It needs to be going on because that's how we figure things out. If we allow one or the other of those components to run the show and ignore the other, there are big problems that come with that. We can talk about that another time. But so let's ask the questions of the people. Hey, people, you're probably thinking about a particular relationship right now. And if that relationship were a chapter in a book, would you be looking forward to turning the page, or are you trying to force a sequel to a story that's already been told?
Ooh.
In other words, I want to turn the page because I'm ready to move on, or I can't accept that this relationship is going to change for whatever the reason. And I think people who don't understand that relationships are not, for the most part, ever going to be permanent. Not the way they've always been. Not at the same level of intimacy and vulnerability and frequency. That's not the way the world works.
That's not what happens in Cinderella.
And I've never seen a pumpkin cart going down my street.
Good answer.
Carriage, not a cart.
Yeah, you're right.
Thing on wheels. I've never seen a pumpkin on wheels going down my street. Unless it was a parade.
I just feel like that's something that we're taught. That relationships we end up happily ever after.
Yeah. Well, and we're also taught to invest in that relationship. Despite.
Yes.
Whatever. Fill in the blank. And I think that we probably pick up the vibe on that. Well, if I invest in it without expecting anything in return or a similar return, then it should be forever. But again, that does not.
It's not reality.
And does not vibe with what actually happens. So a final question. Are you holding on to people out of genuine care, or are you exhibiting the sunk cost fallacy? And that means you're investing more just because you've already invested so much.
We've been in this relationship 25 years. I can't quit now. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Do you think, and I do know, I'm aware that relationships and oil wells are not the same thing. But the sunk cost fallacy is going to come into play, and I think it's valid in both places. Regardless of the amount that somebody has put into an oil well because they thought there would be oil there, after a period of time, they have to pull that stuff out of the ground, or they've got to move the equipment somewhere else because they can't continue putting good money after bad. And sometimes we make investments in relationships that don't pay off. There's the hard. It is hard to accept, and it can make you hard as well. We're going to bring this to a conclusion today, but I don't want to go without some reflection on what we've talked about. And so you and I, in my opinion, and this has to do with my faith, are called to live as lighthouses on a hill and not prisoners under a microscope. And when I say a lighthouse on a hill, that's because we're meant to be seen. We're meant to be a beacon for others, and some brighter than others. Yeah, it's the way of the world. But I think we become the prisoner under the microscope when we perform for the audience and are not intentional, and we're not paying attention to how much energy we are exercising that has no hope for any return value. I'm not saying that we don't exercise energy without the expectation of it being reciprocated, because that has an agenda to it. And that's not, there are some things that we can and should expect a return for. But some relationships have a level of intensity and a level of intimacy and vulnerability that we give without worrying about what we get in return. I wish that for all of us in this life. I wish that each and every one of us can have that kind of relationship with somebody so that you understand, I guess, what real love feels like. Because real love doesn't ask for anything in return. But when a relationship of two people has the same belief system in place and the same sacrificial nature in place, you don't have to worry about what you're going to get in return. You give it and you're glad, you're joyful to give it, and you'll give it again. But when two people feel the same way, you don't ever worry about what you're going to get in return because it's always good enough and then some. So that's why I think it's so important for us to audit the energy that we're giving. We need to see where what we're giving is paying off and where it's not. And if what it's paying off in is frustration and confusion and only bad things, you might want to take a second look at to where that relationship stands in comparison to where it once was, and if it is even worthy of that energy any longer. Again, I'm not talking about a current marriage. I'm talking about relationships whose seasons have already passed or that might be going through a seasonal transition. That doesn't necessarily mean that relationship is done, gone, spoken for and in the past, but its level of intensity and its level of investment needed may be changing. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Out Loud and On Purpose. Again, I'm Kyle Hargrove, your host, and we look forward to hearing from you. You can find us with the email address, OLOP Podcast, that's OLOP Podcast, @gmail.com. Give us a shout. Let us know what you're thinking. And if you have any interesting ideas or people that we should meet, we'd love to hear from you. We look forward to seeing you next time.